Hi, I want to talk about old Iran, Iran and Boston. That's like ancient Iran. And actually, Iran was a huge country. Is was and was also a very dominant country in the world. You read the ancient history, you're constantly confronted with Rome and Persia, Iran, and then there were the Chinese, and later on the Turks, the Mongolians. They became important and had their own empire, but their empire really disintegrated, and there is vestiges of their empire all over the place. Uh, I don't know. You probably were not born in Iran or raised there, but many countries are very much similar to Iran. If you go in there, for example, Afghanistan is very similar. It has a minority of Azaris or Turks. I think they call them Hazaris or something like that. And then Iran has Azaris and many places there are Azeri minorities in other Central Asian. They're really mix of Turks and Persian. And many of these places, like Tajikistan, let's say Kyrgyzstan, they're huge places. They're not small places, and they're often depicted as part of the Russian Empire or part of the Turkish Empire, but they're not. Many of the people they're of Persian blood, and they adopted Turkish language and some genetic link to. I think some places is a lot more, and some places is a lot less. I was watching this music video, and it was from one of those states in Central Asia, and the way the women they were singing, the way they were dressed, it looked like they were from ancient Persia, and their language is often Farsi or a dialect of Farsi or Dari, and they were singing, and it sounded like a song from at the end of Qajar dynasty or Reza Shah's time, and their dress looked like it was from Iran, Boston, ancient Iran, and when foreign powers they wanted to ruin the place, that's exactly what they have done, and it has been very superficial. They made all these lines. This is like Afghanistan. This is northern Azerbaijan. This is like Bahrain over there. This all belong to the Arabs, and this part belongs to Russians. But these lines they're very artificial, and there are regimes. For example, in Azerbaijan, the regime is offshoot of the old Soviet Empire, and they kind of do business with Israel. They're very friendly with the United States. In fact, Bolton was there. I was very surprised. I saw Bolton. He's having a little chat with the Azerbaijani. I don't know what's the guy's name, but his wife. He looked like my sister. Patty. So I was looking at the. It was a dance. It was a state dance, and I was looking at her, and it was. I thought, what's Patty doing there? But I don't think it's such a bad thing that many of these puppet regimes, they're making trouble, they're signing up with Israel, they're inviting new cons, they're telling them, hey, we can have our bases. Would you like to attack Iran someday? Just give us a couple of F-35s and some of your support and foreign aid. And every once in a while, Pompeo shows up and has a press conference and hands out a check to one of these despots. But they don't have any kind of cultural, any kind of ties, Yeah. They're not like me. I don't look at these places. So, oh my God, this is my sister. Well, I think it's not such a bad thing that, for example, places like Azerbaijan would make strategic mistakes. Like, for example, one day we wake up and see that the Israeli planes have landed there and from there have attacked Iran. That just is a beautiful excuse to for Iran. We have a very good military to attack them very hard and just wipe out their government. And oh my God, this place is Iran. Wasn't it part of Iran? Well, many Iranians, they get very pissed when they think about how Azerbaijan was separated from Iran. And then also there is well, you probably don't watch Iranian media, how they lost Bahrain to Saudi Arabia, the Shah's time. Well, United States exerted influence, and so the Bahrain is really Arab. Bahrain is not Arab. Bahrain is Shia, and it's okay. They instigate, and the bottom line is that it's not such a bad thing. That there might be little wars, little excuses. These places, they have acquired a lot of resources from Russians, from Saudis, from Americans. Americans have their fifth naval fleet. I don't know, one of those old aircraft carriers is sitting there. I don't know. We shouldn't completely destroy these places. We should capture, say, for example, if we capture one of these aircraft carriers, they have a lot of nukes in them, a lot of technology. They can be used, reutilized. Bahrain was part of Iran. Once it comes back with all these resources from Saudi Arabia, well, thank you. You did us a great favor. A lot of the Iranian weapons were actually weapons that were captured from Iraqis, were captured from Americans. The drones, especially very advanced drones, were captured from the United States. Well, I kind of look forward to see F-35s be delivered to UAE. Maybe we can capture a few F-35s and back engineer them. They're nice planes. They'll be out in the world. I don't know why we don't back engineer like 787. They do business in little Arab countries. We shouldn't be thinking in limited terms like in the past. Our military wasn't strong back then, but that's not the case today. We should enrich ourselves. We should not look at the future with trepidation. We should look at these nations that have tormented us for so long, and look at them in a way you look at a fat cow. Like, it might be misbehaving right now, but a fat cow has a lot of meat. I think that if I was in charge, I would kind of like do a Greek scenario, invite all these hedge fund managers, all these bank owners, the Fed, the U.S. Fed, to a huge conference that give them some inducement. All we want to make U.S. dollar our currency, and we like you now. And then once they come in the conference, they all suddenly send in the IRGC to arrest all of them. And then, did you ever read that novel, Count of Monte Cristo? Like, the Count had tormented this guy all his life. Now he was in prison and he had to pay $1 million for a meal. And, well, we can do that. I mean, we should look at the Americans, their financial institutions that have been so ruinous to us. We should look at them as a resource. If there is a military defeat, if there is political defeat, we could be the ones dictating the terms. Hey, you know what? Many of our soldiers died, and we want you to write $1 million check for their families each, and then we want you to insure all our peasants, and let's see what other resources you have, what better technologies. I know the aerospace is the area that we could benefit from them, but it might be limited because now we have a lot of this equipment, but other industries might be of interest. How about their nuclear technologies, their passenger plane technology, or actual planes? Many of them are grounded because they are bankrupt. Well, if there is also a military defeat, and how about I don't know, supercomputers, the stuff they have, they could give them to us for war reparations or for tormenting us for so many years. I don't know. This could be beginnings of a beautiful relationship. We could really fuck them, and they could really like it too. But I think that some of these places, like Azerbaijan, northern Azerbaijan, Bahrain, probably half of or all of Afghanistan, all of Iraq is already in the boat, but well, the part that's Shia or Kurd, they could come back, but the places that they're just too distant, they haven't been part of Iran, like Syria is not. So we shouldn't want them. We shouldn't want people that are troubled. Parts of Saudi Arabia, which are all Wahhabis, we should not want them. Libya, we shouldn't want Sunni extremists. They're just gonna make trouble for us. But there are a lot of places that we should want, and it's okay if their little puppet government does this and that. It's okay. They're just gonna end up. They're gonna lose out. Well, I don't know how this reintegration would take place. I hope it doesn't end up in a lot of bloodshed, and it should be something that there is a choice and there is benefits. For example, the Russian government offered to take parts of Ukraine back. They were mostly Russians anyhow, and they voted and they went back to Iran, to Russia. But we could have the same. We could have referendum in Azerbaijan or Bahrain or in parts of or a lot of the Afghanistan or Kurdistan, and it would be good for them because they will come under anti-aircraft protection. They won't be foreign regimes. They won't be able to attack them anymore, and they also can do business with us and be part of the greater economy of the place. I don't know. I just feel that this will happen anyhow because the temperament of these people, Kurds or Afghani or Tajiki, or their temperament or their lineage, their bloodline is Iranian or from old Persia, and there is an expression in Persian. It says the pull of the blood will do its thing, which means that the bloodline they will come back to us. It might not be the way I think right now or I imagine it, but I don't know. These lines in the sand, they're artificial. Uh, I don't wish to instigate for trouble. I don't believe in violence. I think things that are historical imperatives, uh, they will happen. For example, when the Russians they gave up East Germany, and East Germany reintegrated with Germany, which is the West Germany. I mean, what fight was there? What war was there? They were all Germans. I mean, there was infrastructure that the Soviets had built up in East Germany. But what about it? Many West German companies came in. They hired these impoverished East Germans. They bought up the properties. It became really Germany. I mean, what fight is there? I think the same thing will happen when Azerbaijan reintegrates with Iran, or Bahrain reintegrates with Iran, or how now Kurdistan is doing millions of dollars of business with Iran. People are going back and forth. This is Iran, and then how about the Shia in Iraq? I mean, there is economic integration. Well, then there is a lot of cultural ties and bloodlines, and I don't know. Is it necessary to draw a new map, or does it matter? Probably there is a map that shows East and West Germany's now, but most people will just draw a map that shows Germany. I don't know. And I don't think there will be wars to do this. Some hotheads, they'll throw in a few bullets, but I don't know. I'm very much more optimistic, but I think that the Iranian government looks at this with apprehension because we have had such long, troublesome history with the British, with the Russians, with the Americans. I think that once we kick America's butt really hard in the Middle East, we should ask them for war reparations, for the losses that they have imparted because of all these sanctions and harassment. We should look at them as a resource, as a fat cow that's ready to be slaughtered. Well, my ideas are strange, uh, but they're based on research and a little bit of history. And if you can understand these ideas, I think you're doing pretty good in the IQ department. Please subscribe, leave your comment, don't be shy. I'm not such a strange bird. If you associate with me, then you won't get tagged by CIA. But you might also get tagged, but it would not matter in the future where CIA and United States don't matter. Get it? Thank you.